You're watching Cars.tv.
Welcome to the Mullen Automotive Museum. This collection has several Best of Show winners. We have one sitting over here, which is the only, as far as I know, the only four-door sedan ever to win Best of Show at Pebble Beach. That's a Voisin Aerodyne, and a masterpiece that Gabriel Voisin put together in 1935. Interesting because it has a vacuum-operated sunroof that actually inadvertently became a moonroof because he placed windows in so that if you had the roof partially retracted, you could always see out the back window. The last car that I was involved with at any kind of concours was the Benedict Castle in Riverside. It's actually a charity type event, and I was lucky enough to take one of the Delahaye 12-cylinder cars. It was one of the Type 145s that were part of Lucy O'Reilly Schell's car. Well, it was a team effort, and what's interesting is those cars during World War II were hidden. Two, I think, out in the countryside, either in caves or in barns, and one of the ones I drove was one of two that were at Henri Chaperon, another French coach builder's facility, where they were already obsolete from a racing standpoint. They had done their thing, the technology, the rules had changed. They were a couple years old, and Henri Chaperon was going to put coupe bodies on them. When the Germans occupied France in 1940, he quickly disassembled the cars completely, blended all the parts in with the parts he had in his shop, which could have been Citroën, Peugeot, Renault, whatever. Later 1940s, he put the chassis back together and built beautiful coupe bodies. That won an award of excellence. Such a fine, fine car, and of course, the provenance of the car is unbelievable. There's more trophies than I think we know what to do with. Here we have 1935 Avion Voisin C27, only four-door sedan, as far as I know, that's ever won the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Voisin had a fairly interesting design components. Didn't use any surrounds on the window. Anything that added weight without value, he tended to eliminate. So here you see a slab of glass, even on a prize-winning and what was a very expensive car at the time, bolted directly to the A-pillar. These cars were made out of aluminum, which was great from a weight standpoint. Unfortunate during World War II, and most were scrapped for airplane parts. Very few of these cars are left. It's thought that there may have been 10 to 12,000 Avion Voisin made from 1919 to 1939. Estimates are less than 200 left in the world. The Mullen Museum owns 17 of these Voisins, so extremely rare. If you look Art Deco patent and upholstery, this upholstery has been replaced, like many of these cars of this vintage, but you're able to find the original material, the original looms, and actually the original craftspeople who made the upholstery in the first place, and they were able to craft this upholstery on this car when it was restored. Some pretty interesting features. This car has a retractable roof. Through mechanical means, this roof fully retracts to give an open sunroof. I don't know if he planned it, but inadvertently he also created what might be one of the earliest moonroofs because he put windows in place on the Aerodyne so that as the roof was retracted, in theory you had a clear view out the back window if you needed to move the car. I can say from experience with old sedans, you have to be careful because you really can't see too much, but that was an interesting feature. Again, this car, Pebble Beach, 2011, Best of Show, one of the most beautiful cars that exists. Standing here in front of the 1937 Delahaye Type 145. We call it the million-franc car. This was part of Lucy O'Reilly Schell's race team at Curie Blue, French for blue team. And Lucy Schell was an American who lived in Paris, well off, who basically started her own racing team and loved racing herself. 1937, the rise of nationalism in Europe. There were a lot of money put into racing team. Racing was important, so different countries put a lot of money backing teams. The country of France offered a million-franc prize for any French-based racing team that could beat the Alfa Romeo 1934 Montmorille record for 200 meters and could beat the German Silver Arrows, Audis, and Horks. Schell, who had already been racing, went to Delahaye and asked for some specific race cars. He wanted 12-cylinder race cars. Delahaye was not in a position to necessarily do that on their own, so she underwrote the project and built several 12-cylinder engines, one of which is in this car. 12-cylinder, overhead valve, 24 spark plugs, twin magnetos. This car did beat the Germans as well as eradicate the record of the Alfa Romeo at Montmorille and went on to win Grand Prix of Pau, Grand Prix of Cork, and is just a classic, beautiful Delahaye. Hard for me to speak for the museum, but I know that they want to continue to make this a welcome place for people who want to learn about cars, want to see some of these things, incredible machines, know more about Art Deco. Personally, of all the things I've done, I think 5 days in the pits up at Laguna Seca last year. That was really fun, and I know I'm probably never happen, but I would love to be driving one of these babies up the corkscrew. And again, might have to get a whole lot of race car training. I don't actually even want to be in the race. I would just love to take one of these thoroughbred cars, whether it's a Bugatti Type 57, we've got the 1936 race car upstairs. The one I'm dying to drive is the 1911 Hispano Suiza King Alfonso. It's the oldest race car we have. It's considered the world's first sports car. That's upstairs. That's an interesting car to take a look at. But I could just imagine to take that around the track. During the vintage racing, I was up in the corkscrew, and of course I was waiting for the Mullen Cabo Lago to come screaming through. But I really enjoyed the early cars, the 1910 Locomobile, the old Peerless, even some of the Model Ts, but they were all Regio, overhead conversion, Frontenac heads, Fronty Fords, a lot faster than my 20 horsepower Model T pickup truck. But I think that would be something, if there was ever a chance, would be really fun.
Closed captioning provided by